Chapter 109 Tea Time. Summary. The space crew continues to take on guild missions on their way home. Some more impactful than others.
"We can't thank you enough for your assistance,"
the diplomat says once again, their needle-like teeth flashing before disappearing behind a closed-lip smile.
"Truly, you have saved many of our people when no one else would aid us."
Izuku gave the sentient a tired smile as they stepped over a piece of debris, exhaustion from the day weighing heavy on him. Their crew had been working non-stop for hours to help rescue civilians from the destruction brought on by what was evidently a major earthquake in the planet's capital city. Hundreds of thousands had been caught up in the disaster, and while aid was sent in from other cities, that alone hadn't been enough. Natural disasters were not the kind of assignment they normally took on from the guild. In the months since their first independent job, they'd mainly stuck to raiding Trellin bases and ships. With each raid, they got better and better, which meant taking on more difficult and difficult jobs. Though they didn't pay the best, so they also took on quick assignments to help keep their accounts stocked. This current assignment fell into neither of these categories, yet it hadn't taken long after the job popped up onto their radar for everyone to agree to take it. The reason for that was, it was a death world. While some death worlds were able to work their way into the Galactic Alliance, this world had not. And when it comes to independent groups like the Guild, while some may see no problem with death worlders, the same cannot be said for death worlds. Very few would dare set foot on one, let alone after a natural disaster where aftershocks were a real possibility, which meant the planet was completely alone, with next to no chance for relief. No one could bear to fly, quite literally, right past the planet, as it was along their flight route, and not stop for help. And while Izuku's muscles burned and his arms tingled with numbing pins and needles, he knew they made the right decision. As they followed the, as of now, unnamed diplomat towards the center of the city, the cracked and collapsed buildings slowly lessened. Gone was the dust floating through the air, brought up by rescue efforts redisturbing wreckage sites. As they approached the Capitol buildings, surrounded by extravagant buildings and parks where extravagantly dressed people went about their days like nothing had happened, the sight made a feeling of indignation squirm in Izuku's gut.
"Hey, if the earthquake was so bad, how is everything here okay?"
Denki asked, looking around like he could spot whatever was responsible.
"That would be our pulse dampener. It's a machine that reads the quake and sends out waves of destructive interference, counteracting the earthquake and preventing damage. Each major city has one of these located in the Capitol buildings."
The sentient smile didn't waver as he continued.
"The only flaw is that the range is relatively small compared to the size of a city, which means when events like this happen, there are some issues in the outer districts."
Something about the way they said it made Izuku's skin crawl. He said issue like it was some minor inconvenience, not an event that caused people to lose their homes and lives. Izuku wasn't exactly happy it seemed that only the wealthiest got protection from earthquakes. He couldn't judge the planet too hard. Earth was still pretty pay to win in regards to most areas of safety as well. But the way the guy spoke so blasé about it still rubbed him the wrong way. Continuing to follow them, the group made their way past the ring of upper-class homes and into the grouping of government buildings. The whole area looked as large as the grounds of UA, which was quite impressive. No two buildings looked the same geometrically. One resembled a Christmas tree, another a frisbee, and another a bubbling cloud. They were led past everything to the building in the center of it all, a large domed building with wide-set stairs leading to its grand, open doors. A small cluster of people are waiting for them at the top of the stairs. 4 people in all, each a member of the native species, with their tall, thin limbs and slightly stretched-looking mouths. One dressed in long robes beckons them forward, which becomes slightly awkward when it takes the group a full minute to climb the stairs, as they are clearly made with the tall, thin sentients in mind. After doing their best to embrace their inner mountain goat and scale the tall, thin ledges, they come to stand in front of the small group. One of them is the woman who met with them upon landing and directed them how best to help. Her face is as blank as it was when they met. With her is the person in the robes and someone in what Izuku assumes is this planet's police/military uniform. The latter gives them a hard look, eyes first snapping to Mina before sweeping the rest of them and settling back on her. Izuku's brain prickles. What a pleasure it is to meet the ones who answered our call for aid, the robed woman says. I will admit, I was not expecting anybody to respond. I am delighted to have been mistaken. She regards them with a warm look, black eyes shining brightly. We're just happy to help, Ochako chirps. Such kind young ones. The woman smiles. I am Lynetta, sovereign of this planet. We may not be able to pay you much, but please accept our duty of hospitality and stay the night. When the dawn comes, we invite you to feast with us in the grand pavilion. Kachon immediately looks ready to protest, but Mina spoke up first. That sounds great. It's been a while since we've had a break. While Izuku isn't exactly thrilled about the idea of sleeping somewhere other than their ship, it had been a while since they were able to relax on planet. And by the looks of things, staying for breakfast might be a cultural thing if she felt it was the city's duty to offer it to them. He doesn't want to accidentally disrespect them by refusing. Nezu knows they've made enough cultural missteps when they first got on Oxyus to last a lifetime. Though he would have appreciated it if Mina hadn't just agreed before they could discuss how everyone else felt about the matter. Faux pas or not, they'd leave if someone really didn't feel comfortable. It's been so long since we've seen a sunrise, Ochako smiled, while Mei muttered about the pulse damper. Denki shrugged. I'm down. Lynetta looked at Izuku and Katsuki, and once they both gave a nod, one more reluctant than the other, she said, Wonderful. Rabek, would you please escort them to the tea room for some calming tea before seeing them off to bed?
Of course,
the sentient that brought them here said.
If you would once again follow me.
Wait, Mei said before anyone could go far. What about our ship? We kind of just left it on the outskirts of the city. No worries. We'll have someone move it to City Central once the roads are clear enough for transport vehicles. It will be ready for you by morning. Lynetta smiled in the same tone she'd been using all conversation. Mei grumbled a bit. Okay, but no one better mess with it. The Roombas will get you if you try. Noted, Lynetta said politely, like she understood what Mei was referring to. Which, given Roombas didn't exist in space, let alone the name, she most certainly did not. Izuku had a feeling she dealt with a lot of odd people as the planet's leader. Lynetta, the woman who welcomed them, and the military-looking sentient, as Trebek leads them through the grand doors of the central building. When Izuku steps over the threshold, his head spikes with a jolt of pain. He clenches his teeth and follows their guide deeper into the building, ignoring as the jolt dims into a faint ache at the base of his skull. They're led into a small yet grand room. The ceiling has an intricate vine molding adorning it, and the white table in the center of the room is topped with small cups and an odd teapot. The tea tastes almost like pomegranate juice, though it does nothing to dull the headache that's only grown sharper since he started drinking. When another lightning bolt of pain passes through his brain when he brings the cup up for another sip, Izuku decides he's had enough and sets his cup down on the saucer.
Where will we be staying?
He asks. Trebek, who has been standing regally by the doors, answers.
Just down the hall are the guest rooms. You six will be placed right next to each other, as there are no other guests staying with us at the moment.
Mei downs the rest of her tea before she says, Next to each other? We can't stay in the same room? The sentient looked incensed at the question.
Let all of you stay in a room together? Have you no manners where you're from? I highly doubt you're all married.
Okay, that was a little uncalled for. Well, it wasn't exactly traditional in Japan to sleep in cuddle puddles. There were plenty of species out there who did sleep like that. Maybe there was a reason their guest hall was empty. He thinks a little blearily. We can go in separate rooms, Ochako says, not sounding quite genuine. We don't want to disrespect your customs. Izuku highly doubts they'll be in separate rooms once the coast is clear and the building asleep.
Good.
Rebek sniffs.
Now, as everyone is finished, let me show you to your rooms.
Izuku nods before blinking slowly. It's not that late for them yet. They've only been up for a few hours, which means they shouldn't really be going to bed yet. But, he suppresses a yawn, we were working really hard with the rescue efforts, and I am pretty tired. Looking around, he sees the others have sleepy expressions on their faces, and Mei looks ready to fall asleep where she sits.
All right,
Izuku replies. He stands up and waves to the others.
Let's get going, guys.
The guest hall is just a few turns away from the tea room. The doors are a pretty pastel pink, though Izuku can't focus on much else as he's led into one of the rooms and shown the closet. He sifts through the large selection, with options for a wide variety of sentient species, with clumsy hands until he finds a t-shirt and shorts that look about the right size. He ignores the fact that he's pretty sure he grabbed it out of a pile of kids' clothes. He blinks, and he's lying down in the large bed. He snuggles into the soft sheets as he slips off, his headache, muffled by drowsiness, only grows.